if you take a public act and you're going to benefit financially, you're going to take financial gain in exchange for a public act. I mean, the laws are pretty clear about that. Unfortunately, all too often in politics today, you can see examples of political officials who have public acts that they do in the cases I gave you, and yet they benefit personally because they make the rules.
Does it personally include campaign finance payments?
Campaign finance payments, let me give you an example. I'm pro-choice. I've fought hard to protect the reproductive rights of women. And because of that position, including going around the legislature and using the executive powers of the governor to stop pharmacists from not dispensing birth control to women who have prescriptions, I've been supported by some of the pro-choice groups. They've given campaign contributions. That's perfectly legal and perfectly appropriate. I support reasonable gun control laws. And are you to say that if the police association contributes money to me because they like my position on gun control, that's perfectly legal?
If the causation is that way around.
As long as there is not an express quid pro quo, the law is very clear. And everybody operates that way who's following the law. If, however, there's an express quid pro quo, you have then broken the law.
Right, okay, so if they give money to you because they like your position, that's one thing. If positions change because of money given, then that's the wrong thing. Okay, good.
No, that's not, that's moral what you're saying, but I don't, you probably need that every senator, probably the congressman, even the president, that was the approach. Here's a political deal that's very normal and routine. Hillary Clinton and Barack Obama are fighting it out to be Democratic nominee for president. And on the eve of the convention, the Democrats, Obama's ahead, so there's a political deal. In exchange for her getting out of the race, he agrees to make her Secretary of State. Now, Hillary Clinton's qualified, but she's not exactly Henry Kissinger or Big U. Brzezinski, Secretary of State. And he agrees, Obama, to raise her $10 million to retire her campaign debt that the Clintons personally lent to their campaign. That's typical routine politics at the highest level, and you should ask them whether or not they think that's appropriate.
So does the fact that something is common in politics make it okay? The fact that we live in an incredibly corrupt state, does that make, if you actually change your vote on a piece of legislation or on an executive enactment in return for campaign funds, does that make it any more ethical or legal?
You're asking me, the law is what the law is. The law is legal. That makes it legal. Is it moral? What's the right thing to do? If you believe in your heart what you're doing in raising campaign funds to be in a position to fight for people and get things done for people, and if I wasn't good at that, every child wouldn't get health care. Kids with cancer wouldn't be able to see the doctor, but I was able to be in a position to get that done.
So you're saying the end is justified?
No, as long as you follow the law. As long as you follow the law.
But that is against the law. I mean, if you say, I'm going to change my position on this vote if you give me campaign funds.
Oh, no. That's an express quid pro quo. That's a different dynamic. I understand the question. No.
All right, well, what about if the governor he promised to look after someone's business interests if they donated money to the campaign, if they used state powers to look after someone's business interests, would that be ethical?
Let me say that, so if you're saying, is it ethical for the President Bush and the Congress to vote the bipartisan way to bail out the big investment bankers to cause the economic collapse? I don't think that's the right decision. I think that's the wrong decision. But $700 billion of our money went to bail out Goldman Sachs and some of these big investment firms, and now they're paying themselves big bonuses. And the promise was they're going to lend money to homeowners on home equity loans, and they're not. I don't think that's right. You want to ask whether it's ethical or not? I don't think it is. It's the wrong decision. The new administration did the same thing, bailed out the banks again. They're not lending money to small businesses. So they're using government, and more than that, they're using billions of dollars of our taxpayer money to actually help in industries and several businesses individually. So evidently, it's legal because they're doing it.
Okay, I have one question that I've been told you to give a short answer to. Is that you're appearing on reality shows and you've tried to appear on other reality shows. And some people criticize this as trivializing the office of the governor as an ex-governor. And I'm wondering, is this part of a deliberate legal strategy to perhaps appear a little trivial so that the charges against you don't seem so serious?
No. Let me answer that. I would have never imagined, ever, that I would be a celebrity TV person. In fact, when I was governor, I never watched them. But here's what happens when the government abuses what it does to try to get somebody who's innocent. They not only break the canons of ethics as prosecutors and strip away a presumption of innocence, set in motion false accusations in a sensational way that the media will then just completely buy into, and then create a dynamic that it's impossible to fight against, that then leads to your removal from office. And by the way, I was offered, and you should know this, I wrote this in my book, before I was thrown out of office, I was offered by legislative leaders an option if I voluntarily incapacitated myself. I became the non-acting governor. They would pay me my full salary as governor and allow me to keep the security detail that protected me and my family for 6 years. That's $170,000 for 2 years of taxpayer money. All I had to do to agree was step aside and not be governor acting, let Quinn become the acting governor, and don't appoint a senator. Now, if I'd have done that, that would have been admission of wrongdoing, not to mention the fact I felt that was unethical. How could I possibly be an incapacitated governor taking taxpayers' money? So I turned it down. And it was implied, you don't take this, we're throwing you out of office. And then if you send a senator to Washington, which, by the way, I had a constitutional duty to do, to not make a senator after I did nothing wrong, and I'm not going to be chased out of office on false accusations and a witch hunt, to then make a senator to not do it would have been a violation of me doing my duty as a governor. They then do an impeachment thing. Now you got the government bringing these cases, and what they try to do then is squeeze you financially. And what they did is that political dynamic that cost my wife her job, where she was working to help the homeless. So she lost her income, I lost mine, and now suddenly we have no income. We have 2 little children, 6 and 13. They were 5 and 12 then. They're in a private school where they like it. We have a home like most people. We owe a lot of money on it. And so now we have nothing. We have nothing. And like the prosecutor said, the great crime spree, I'm indigent. And then when you have this in your life, and people just jump to conclusions when they write things a certain way, and people don't scratch the surface, and the media isn't doing its job to ask some reasonable questions, like, could this really be possible? Then your friends who knew you the day before, well, they don't know you the day after. They don't want what you have in their lives. And so you can't make a living. And we were fortunate, unlike most Americans who lost their jobs and are facing hard times, who are struggling, and we're not alone. We have a lot of company, unfortunately. Unlike them, these unique opportunities came. One was to go in the jungle in Costa Rica and eat tarantulas. And unfortunately, I was not allowed to go. And my wife did, because she loves her kids, and she had to suck it up for a month and be in Costa Rica and do it on national television. Not something we would choose, but necessity compelled. And then I had this opportunity in the Trump show, and one of the benefits is you get to raise money for charities you care about. Both Patty and I were actually helping the Children's Cancer Center, who help kids who have pediatric cancer. So it's not at all a strategy, it's a necessity. They strip your job, and they try to screw you financially so you can't fight back, because they try to compel you to admit the things you didn't do. And if we have more time in this panel, I want to read another case on some of these candidates. Just raise that questions. Okay?
Thank you, John.